As you know, we have had some major success stories in agriculture, space, atomic energy, milk production, and telecom. For example, today we are the biggest, or we produce largest amount of milk in the world. There was time when people all over the world thought that India will not be able to feed herself. Today not only we can feed 1.3 billion, but we have a huge amount of surplus food. I had an opportunity to work on telecom when we had only 2 million telephones. It used to take 15 years to get telephone connection. Just in a short span of just about 20 years, today India is a nation of connected billion. We have 900 million telephones. Our main challenge is to take that connectivity forward, to build new institutions and infrastructure, to build new India for the 21st century. And that is the challenge for all our young. How do we use this infrastructure? How do we use technology and the power of young to really address the real challenges of India? From my perspective, we have the largest number of poor in the world. We have the largest number of illiterates in the world. And we have moral responsibility to solve the problems of the poor and the problems of the illiterates. In spite of all the progress we have made, we still have a great deal of disparity. Disparity between rich and poor, urban, rural, educated, uneducated. We also have a big challenge in terms of demography. I always emphasize the fact that we have 550 million young below age of 25. How do we clothe them, educate them, feed them, provide them nutrition, give them skills, get them jobs, and ultimately give them the prosperity they deserve? And it's not easy to create 15 million new jobs every year, year after year. Third major challenge besides disparity and demography is development. Everything is happening in India, but perhaps not happening at the pace you and I would like. We need more roads, more energy, better environment, improved infrastructure, more power plants, more schools, more colleges. Everything we look around needs expansion. Everything we look around needs excellence. I find that the quality of our education, our institutions, our health services, our governance is pretty poor. We need to really improve quality at all levels. And we also have to make sure that the poorest of the poor indeed can get access to all of the services in India. So we need expansion, we need excellence, and we need equity. The key in all of this is to really begin to focus on the bottom of the economic pyramid. How do we lift 300 million people who are below poverty line? The growth is not about creating more billionaires or watching fancy cricket games or looking at Bollywood movies. The real challenge lies in lifting quality of life for 300 billion who really don't have respectful standard of living. This requires a whole different mindset. The Western model of development, which is essentially based on consumption, is really not scalable, workable, desirable in India. We essentially need a new model of development, which focuses more on affordability, scalability, and sustainability. We need to use technology to solve the problems of the poor. For the last 20-25 years, I have been saying that technology is a great social leveler, second only to death. However, most of the people who get technology savvy, learned about technology, begin to focus on solving problems of the day, who really don't have problems to solve. And as a result, problems of the poor really don't get the kind of talent it requires. Today, the real challenge is to focus on Gandhian model of development. Model that is rooted in truth and absolute truth, sense of sacrifice, non-violence, rural development, sort of local ecosystem, and system that begins to solve the problems of the local people with local considerations in mind. But in this globalized world, you need balance on both ends. There are certain things that require local focus, and there are certain things that require global focus. Whenever I speak to young, I find many times, not just in India but all over the world, young men and women lack purpose in life. Some are angry, some are frustrated, they feel helpless, they resent, they get humiliated, and they have a distorted view of the world. They have a distorted view of their own life. And they want to go change the world, but they really don't know how to do it. It is one thing to dream about changing the world, but it's another thing to go do it. This brings me to my own experiences. So we talked a little bit about the world today. We talked a little bit about India today. Now let me share with you some of my personal journey quickly, and then we will move on to see what our young in India ought to be looking at and focusing on. A lot of my own journey has taught me some lessons that I want to share with you. For those of you who do not know, I was born and raised in a small little tribal village in Orissa. My parents had 8 kids. In that village there was no electricity, no water, no doctor, no pharmacy, no nurse, no schools. My parents had 4th grade education. But those were the days of independence fervor. Everyone was committed, and everyone talked about Gandhi, Patel, Nehru, and some of the great leaders we have had in the past. I was born in 1942. I'm 71 years old. And because there were no schools, my parents decided to send us to Gujarat to study. And in Gujarat we had the value system of Gandhiji, Sardar Patel. Right at very early childhood we were taught. And we lived Gandhian dream. After independence, there was still a great deal of understanding and ethos about the struggle of independence, about the honest, sincere leadership and all the hard work people put in, selflessly, to get the independence. I studied there, and one fine day, when I was in college at MS University, Baroda, I saw in the newspaper that President Kennedy has decided to send man on the moon. And I decided to come to America. Came here about 50 years ago. Got married here, built my life and family, built a business. And finally one day I came to India after making some I could make a phone call. So a little bit of arrogance and lot of ignorance said I must devote my time to changing telecom scene in India. I was convinced that telecom would change the face of India. I took help of a lot of young people. I had the political support from Rajiv Gandhi. It was his political will that gave me the strength to do what I needed to do. And the young talent from students, fresh graduates in India, provided me the vehicle to implement programs we needed to implement. Against all the world's wisdom then, we focused on rural telecom, STD PCOs, indigenous development, local production, Indian talent, digital switching. All of these were unique ideas then. As I said earlier, not only we have gone from 2 million to 900 million phones, but we also now generate $100 billion worth. Every year, year after year, we get a great deal of respect in the global community. We have our own multinationals, and large number of our young educated get jobs in IT. But it required a decade of continuous focus in India. Then I had a heart attack, I had a quadruple bypass, Rajiv Gandhi got killed, I ran out of money, and I came back to the US to put my personal life in order. I had 2 kids ready to go to college and I didn't have money to pay for tuition. I didn't have a visa to come back because I had given up my US nationality. I came as a tourist. But as a tourist I could work. So I started another business, put my life in order, took me 10 years to do that, and then once again turned my attention to India. Because I believe that if India is to grow at 8 to 10%, we really need to focus on education, knowledge, research, vocational training, and all of that. When UPA government came to power, I had an opportunity to work for 5 years on knowledge as chairman of Knowledge Commission. We looked at 27 different aspects of knowledge, from libraries to portals to networks to broadband to vocational education, distance learning, school education, university education, innovations, entrepreneurship, patents, copyright, trademarks, application of knowledge, e-governance, and all of that. When that period was over in 5 years, we submitted our report. A lot of this is being implemented by the government. Then I decided to turn my attention to public information infrastructure and innovations. Public information infrastructure is all about democratizing information.